elderly couple from Westfield is out $10,000 after falling victim to an elaborate scheme. Now, police are asking for help identifying the person behind it. According to Westfield police, the couple reported the incident Friday after they were contacted by someone posing as a lawyer who told them to deliver $10,000 cash in order to bail a family member out of jail. After withdrawing the money, a courier was sent to receive it from the couple. Then, once the couple learned their family member had not been arrested, they filed a police report. Detectives learned the courier was a driver for a ride-sharing company and was not involved in the scam. Video taken from the driver's car captured the suspect when the couple's money was handed off at the Worcester Fair Shopping Plaza in Worcester. If you recognize the man from this picture, contact Westfield Police.